But there's one thing, Emerson, that I noticed that I'm not seeing, that I typically see, and that's a uniform.
Well, when I got home, I had 6 sisters living in. The older ones, these clothes were durable, I'd worn them, and they just busted the seams. Laid flat out there, they made pretty large panels, and they took those and made skirts and stuff out of them. They needed clothing. We grew up, you didn't have many clothes. They made clothing out of the uniforms. I was glad to donate them.
Every veteran has a story of sacrifice, courage, humor, and heartache. Each week, Veteran Story Hour captures these remarkable stories firsthand in the voices of those who've served. Recorded live from the weekly Friday brunch in the Saluda, Virginia studio in Waynesboro, this is more than a podcast. It's a living history, preserving the legacy of America's heroes. You're listening to Veteran Story Hour, Voices of Valor, presented by Saluda, Virginia. Let's begin. Today, you're going to hear the voice of a man who has lived long enough to see the world change. A man who grew up in a house with no electricity, who enlisted in the Navy on his 17th birthday. You'll hear about the day his seaplane fell from the sky over rough water near the Panama Canal. The darkness, waiting and praying for a rescue he had no way of knowing was coming. You'll hear about service, about family, about faith, and about a love that lasted 64 years with the woman he built a life beside. But you'll also hear something else, something just as important. You'll hear a man nearly 101 years old speak about hospice with gratitude, about the fear he first felt when he heard the word, and how the nurses and doctors who walk into his home twice a week have not only cared for him, they've saved his life. This episode was recorded in Emerson's living room, with his family sitting nearby. And you'll hear Emerson teaching and guiding and reminding us that veterans must know the resources available to them, and that asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, a century of American history told by the man who lived it. Emerson Pell. Emerson, when did you enter the Navy?
I made notes here so I don't make a mistake. In February 1943, February 26th. It was my 17th year birthday. We went to Charleston, West Virginia, and they had a place there that they recruited men for services, all of them.
Now, are you from Charleston?
No, we lived 20 miles east of Charleston. Mahan was where my dad worked, and we lived in Glasgow, West Virginia, about 20 miles up the Canal River from Charleston.
How many brothers and sisters did you have growing up?
I had 10 brothers and sisters, and my wife had 12. She was one of 12. I was one of 11.
So growing up, 10 brothers and sisters in West Virginia.
Yes.
Being on the farm, coming from the farm. I got to imagine, based off of this time period, electricity, running water inside of a home, you end up getting all these skills to be able to work on aircraft and working for the Navy. How different was your experience being in the Navy compared to growing up? Like what you were exposed to, whether it was indoor plumbing, electricity, all these different types of things that had to be a major change.
Everything to me was different. When we grew up, we didn't have, we just had a frame house, nothing in it, no water, no power, no electricity, no nothing. Just a house, that's all it was, shack.
A shack.
Everything was new to me when I was 20 years old. I hadn't had electric power even.
So the
No,
first time,
no telephone, no nothing.
the first time you'd ever seen electricity is in the Navy?
Yes.
It would have to have been like magic. There had to have been so many elements that would have just absolutely just your mind would have blown up, would have exploded just with all of everything that's new. And then you work on radar.
It was new, all right. It was that. But I learned.
That's a lot of learning.
I was 17. I was gullible, you know.
Something tells me that's why they get us in early. They want us working for them early because then they can mold you and make you exactly the way they want you to be.
And
so when you enlisted, you were only 17 years old.
yeah.
Now, you enlisted, which means you weren't drafted?
No, they were drafting people that weren't in school, 18-year-olds, but not 17.
So that means you said...
They started at 18 drafting.
Right. So what made you at 17 want to go to Charleston, West Virginia?
And I don't know what caused me to do it. I just had the urge, and I did it.
Now, you had told me that when you first got to Charleston, that there were 20 pine boxes waiting for, were there.
They had bodies in them. They were dead soldiers and Army people.
Because the time that you enlisted, even though you were 17 years old, it was already 1943.
Yes.
So the war had already been moving.
It started in 1941.
That's right. What was the first thought you had when you see these coffins and these caskets while you're choosing to start?
I tried not to think about it.
And you said those were Army guys.
Well, yeah, I think so. Most of them were Army.
And you went Navy.
Navy.
So when you first enlist, what was the job that they gave you as a 17-year-old getting enlisted?
I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, and I'd been used to living on a farm, and we ate stuff in the field just raw. There was a container of potatoes peeled there, obviously for a meal coming up, and I picked up one of them, was eating it. This lieutenant came by. He was in charge of the whole outfit, I guess. He said, my name was stenciled on my jumper.
Yeah.
Everybody had work clothes, you know. He said, what is your name? I said, John Brown.
Did he appreciate your joke?
Not much.
Yeah, I bet he did it.
He said, all right, John, you come with me. And I went with him. He pointed to a big stove. He called it a range.
Yeah.
I called it a stove. He said, you see that? And I said, yeah, I see it. I didn't even say yes, sir, to him. I learned better than that later. But he said, you take that bucket full of material there and you make that thing look like I can shave in it in the morning. He wanted me to clean it, you know, of course.
He wanted it to shine. He wanted it to look like a mirror.
And it did. But I stayed up all night working on it. And I had to work the next day, but I was ready for bed when I got to the next day.
I bet you were.
Tired.
I bet.
But the stove was clean.
Was he able to shave and was he able to see his reflection?
He could.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So you go through boot camp. Was there any memories outside of having to shine up the range or the stovetop that you remember from boot camp?
It was pretty peaceful in boot camp. Of course, you had rules you had to go by, and sometimes I had to duck walk, just squat down with.
Oh yeah, I know what a duck walk is.
Hold a rifle up like this, and your arms and legs got numb by the time you got through with that.
Ask him what.
But after that, I went to school at Navy Pier in Chicago, and it was. I was relieved that One of the fellows I was with got assigned to submarine duty. He didn't like that, and I wouldn't like it. I was claustrophobic, and I wouldn't like to be underwater like that. So I went to aviation airplane repair school.
Yeah.
Well, I knew then that I wasn't going to be in the submarine, so I was okay with that.
You went the exact opposite. I'm not going in a cylinder underwater. I'm going in the sky. I like that.
Yeah, it was better than being underwater.
Way better. Yeah, my uncle, he was at the Naval Academy for years and used to talk about how hard it was to get submariners, to get those guys to want to go work in a submarine.
I wouldn't like that.
No way. So you go aviation repair. Do you get to go right into that right after boot camp?
We were in school to learn how to repair planes.
And
I didn't spend the whole year in the school. It was just a few weeks.
Right.
Then we went to I went to school in radar. That was new. Went to Millington, Tennessee, and we went to learn how to operate radar.
So radar had to have been brand new around this time period. So was it secretive when you went to go do the radar schooling and started to work on that?
You couldn't take any papers like this or anything in, and you couldn't take anything out. They searched you to make sure you didn't. It was secret. This country had it, and other countries didn't. So they made sure you didn't carry any secrets out there. We were in that, and then after that we went to gunnery school. They call it aerial gunnery, but we were on the ground.
Right.
They had a thing that pulled around an oval track, some kind of an engine that pulled a sleeve, a long sleeve. They painted your cartridges, the bullet part of them. When it hit that sleeve, it left paint on it. And they counted how many bullet holes had your name on them. And that was the way they graded you. Then went to gunnery school in Pensacola. Same thing, just more of the same. And then when you got through there, it was just weeks, in that.
Right.
Went to Norfolk, and I had a cellulitis on my lip. Went to hospital, and the outfit I was signed to, VPB 74, they went to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and I was still in the hospital. I was afraid I was going to miss the squadron, but they sent me there after I got out of the hospital. They sent me to Elizabeth City, and I got with the squadron, and I got assigned to a plane crew, number 8. And then after that, we went to Gitmo. They did work on the planes and got all them. Some of them had to change engines. We had to work on our own planes, maintain them, put spark plugs in, gasoline engines,
Right.
They required repair, and we did it.
Had you been out of the country before you went to Gitmo?
That first time.
Out of all of the places that you went to school, that you got stationed, what was your favorite?
I guess Norman, Oklahoma was the best one. We went there for refresher course after we left Galapagos. We went back to Norfolk, and the war got over. They sent us to Norman to a refresher course. And then we went to Corpus Christi and helped maintain planes that they were teaching people how to fly Of course, they tore some of them up pretty good. We had stuff to do, you know.
Yeah.
And then after that, we went to Terminal Islands in California, near Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And that's where I got discharged. It was 1946 then.
Being a boy from West Virginia, did you ever anticipate that you were going to go to Panama Canal, Cuba,
No.
just outside Los Angeles? I mean, you got to see a lot of different places.
I did. When I got discharged, I rode a Greyhound from Los Angeles to Charleston, West Virginia.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I got to see some of the country that way.
Yes, you did.
Ultimately, went to Galapagos Islands, and we operated up to guard the canal zone.
Yeah.
We flew planes like this. We carried a bombardier, one man, and he set the depth of the charges. If you want to explode at 50 feet, he set that on instruments on the bomb. We carried four bombs under each wing, each 100-pound depth charges, and the bombardier set the depth he wanted them to explode, and we in the Navy we kept service records on the engines. Ever so often you had to change the spark plugs and oil. We did that according to the airlines. They have to do that.
Right.
Or when they had gasoline engines. Now it's quite different with jet engines.
Oh, yeah.
When we'd come in on off days when we weren't flying, we'd work on the plane. We had to wash them. We had to maintain the planes. We didn't have any service people like that. We were the service people.
Right.
We did our own airplane, and we had learned how to do it in school.
And if you want it done right, you might as well do it yourself.
If you and when we go out, everybody would check the gasoline level and the oil level. Everybody in the crew was supposed to check. You had to. If the plane crashes, it's going to kill everybody.
Right. It's in everybody's best interest to keep track.
So everybody was responsible for maintaining the plane. And we were there longer, probably 6 months or so in Galapagos. And we were coming up, for some reason they flew to Panama and we crashed. They'd gotten gas from these boats, and somehow they got water mixed in it.
Oh, no.
The engines they'd run a little bit and then quit. It went down on the left side till the wing float off.
Right.
And the engines just went.
You had to have been worried about sharks.
We saw some. We went down in the daytime, and we stayed till it got dark, about midnight. But there were sharks there. We saw them. You could see the fins circling around. They checked us out. If we'd been in the water, we'd been in trouble. I worked with a man named Shayless Keys. We called him Shag. He was on the Indianapolis.
Oh, man.
When it went down.
Yeah.
And he was in the water for a week.
Yeah.
and that salt water took the skin off his body. He had to be in the hospital for months after he was in the hospital over there. And I worked with him. He told me about stuff like that. He was a teenager when he went in the Navy. They put him on the Indianapolis. He had a lot of young men on it. A lot of them died. So we stayed on the plane. It floated. They told me, you take a life raft and open that top door and put them out on the wing. I did that. We stayed out there 13 hours, dark. They have a thing on the plane. You just crank it. It sends out a signal. We didn't know anybody picked it up, but after several hours, we saw a searchlight coming. We knew that they had seen us or heard us, and they finally picked up a plane with a searchlight, and they came close to get to us and dropped a rope ladder over the side. John Paul Jones destroyer.
Okay.
Out of the canal zone. They figured we were 1,000 miles out from the zone. It took a while to get there. It was an old ship, and I guess it's retired now. I think you got a new John Paul Jones.
They probably do.
But we were grateful to see him.
Because there's no way you would have known. You all would have cranked up that distress signal and just hoped.
We had no idea that anybody heard it. We went on there, and they shot holes in the plane, and when it sank, the wing just laid down on the water like that, and of course I had the floats inflated, and they just floated off. They shot them too and sank them. So we went in the canal zone. I didn't know what the meeting was about. They didn't see fit to talk the underlings for what the business was. And we went back then.
They couldn't risk having that airplane get picked up with all that new technology that you all had been working on by the enemy.
The plane was beyond repair by that time. They just sank it.
When you are going down, so you guys are flying, and because of the mixture of water and gasoline, which causes the crash.
That's what the skipper of the plane, that's what he theorized. That he didn't really know, but it acted like that. He was flying it.
What's going through your mind? The guys that are with you as that airplane is going to crash into the water in the dark.
I was kind of scared.
I bet. It would be very nerve-wracking to be in the dark on the water in a crashed vessel.
Well, there was no light. There wasn't even any emergency lighting on the plane. The power was off. It had a MG set on the plane. It could generate power, but we didn't. We carried enough food for 3 meals on there, and that was like a microwave. It heated the food, and had 11-man crew, and it took a lot of food. There was a lot of food that the shore people provided us. You know, they had people in the galley that had big containers, and they had food for 3 meals.
So at least you knew you were going to eat, just in case. But you were out on that water for just 13 hours.
Yeah, water was rough, and the plane wasn't designed to land in or take off in rough water like that. It had to be sheltered like a river or a lake.
Like a lake, yeah. And because the water was so rough.
Too rough to land in.
Did any of the guys that you were with, did you guys have to do anything special to the plane to try and keep it from sinking?
The wing float on the left, it got torn off. We had to go up on the wing and hold that wing down.
Who gets chosen to have to go out and literally lay on the wing so the airplane doesn't flip over?
Yeah.
Who draws the short straw that has to go do that job?
Well, they just asked for volunteers.
I always was told, whenever you're asked to volunteer, don't volunteer. That seems like that would be a very crazy, dangerous job to just lay out on the wing.
Yeah, I've seen them ask if they wanted truck drivers. Well, yeah, they had truck drivers, and they'd give them a wheelbarrow. You'd drive that one.
That's what you get to drive. Now, you have a lot of beautiful photos. For anyone that's listening, there's a lot of beautiful photos that Emerson has up of himself and different awards and things like that. But there's one thing, Emerson, that I noticed that I'm not seeing, that I typically see, and that's a uniform.
Well, when I got home, I had 6 sisters living in, and the older ones, these clothes were durable. I'd worn them, and they just busted the seams, and they laid flat out there. They made pretty large panels, and they took those and made skirts and stuff out of them. They needed clothing. We grew up, you didn't have many clothes, and they made clothing out of the uniforms. I was glad to donate them.
What's a beautiful thing? The reality is you're issued this gear while you're serving the country in the Navy. And then you're able to come back and give that and have that, essentially those items that would have been with you that whole time, and now they get to be with your siblings. And when you got discharged, what was that like? The war is over, and you're coming back. What was that like as a veteran coming back to the United States, getting discharged? And it sounds like you stayed pretty close.
Well, they said we'd like for you to stay in. They liked single people. They didn't have to fool with the family and I said, well, I appreciate your offer, but I'm going home, and I went back home, and I was glad to get there, and I hadn't finished high school, so I went back to that, and I had to finish 11th grade. I left in the 11th grade, and I had to finish it in the 12th, in one term, and I did that.
Yep. When you come back, you're 20 years old. You entered when you were 17. You were in service for 3 years. So you come back as a 20-year-old.
Right.
Are you in classes in 11th grade, 12th grade? Are you with regular high school students?
Well, there was 30 of us veterans there. I was with regular high school age people. And the principal, Dana Irvin, he said, "We're glad you're here." He said, "You want to finish school. We want you to." But he said, "You don't mess with these people." and I said, "Yes, sir." And I did that. I didn't bother him. you have opportunities, but I didn't answer any of them. I stayed in my place, and I graduated in 47.
Your airman wings, I had heard that. Did you lose those?
I gave them to a girl.
You gave them to a girl.
She sat beside me in the study hall, and of course, I was in danger of getting thrown out of school if I dated her at all. So I gave her the wings, and that was the end of it.
That was the end of it. I like that.
I couldn't get friendly with any of the. Some of them were beautiful young ladies, but I had to just ignore it.
Well, because they got a bunch of boys that are around them, and then you show up as a man who has seen the world, who helped beat the bad guys, and now you're just sitting with them. I bet.
You had to be careful.
I bet you did.
There was one young lady there, her name was Lois Longsworth. Everybody noticed her, and they talked about her, but one fellow named Barney Armstrong, the welder, he was a veteran. And after school, after we get out of school, it was Katie barred the door then, you know. And Barney got to Lois. He married her. She was a beautiful person, but there's one thing I didn't like about her. When she walked, she took about a 3-foot step. I mean, she got motivated when she walked.
She had somewhere to go fast.
But it made her look awkward. You know?
I like that.
That was the only thing you could find fault with Lois. She was beautiful.
So we learned about Lois and her ridiculous stride that she had. But you have all these beautiful kids. So tell me about how you met your wife.
Well, I didn't know her till I got out of the Navy. We lived in the same town. When I was working and I was driving by, and she'd be sitting out in front of her house, and somehow I met her. I believe I met her in church. We did go to church there, and I got involved with her, and we got married, of course, and we stayed married for 64 years.
What was one of your favorite memories as you are courting your wife? What was your wife's name?
Patricia.
Patricia. When you were courting Patricia, what's one of your favorite memories that sticks out when you were trying to convince her that you were worth sticking with?
I don't know. I remember one time we went to visit some people, and there was a cotton field by the road, and I went and pulled up one of those cotton bushes, stole it actually, and put it in the trunk of the car. And we took it back and gave it to my mother. She never had seen cotton growing. And I had cotton balls all over it, you know, and we gave her that bush. That was one of the things I remember. But actually, it was kind of uneventful.
Well, for 64 years, you two would have had to have quite a bit in common.
We did. Our dads worked in the same coal mine. His name was Claude. My dad's name was Cloyd. And both of them had big families. They had 12, we had 11. And we lived in the same town. we had a lot in common.
Obviously, very family-oriented, big families, lots of kids, hardworking people.
He didn't like my marrying his daughter too well. He said that, but we became good friends after a while. But it wasn't too smooth at first.
So he made it worth working for. He was your toughest customer.
Yes.
But you obviously won him over.
Well, he would like for to marry a more prosperous man, a richer man. I worked for a power company. And, in fact, we didn't have much. Appalachian Power, and one of the things I remember about their representative, we were asking for a raise, and Appalachian didn't pay very well, and still doesn't. so we their company said Appalachian Power is not a eleemosynary. I didn't know what the word meant. I looked when I got home. I looked, and it means a charitable institution.
That was their answer.
And I think everybody in here is pretty well aware that Appalachian is not a charitable institution. In fact, they're still not.
Yeah.
I finally got away from them when I finally got a job in Virginia. My income was 3 times as much as it had been there. Matter of fact, I worked in one plant for 20 years. When I left, I was making $5 an hour. When I came out here, I was making 15 to start the construction.
Yeah.
The skipper of the outfit, he asked me, why did you leave Appalachian? I said, I got fired for union activities. I was business manager of the union, and they went on strike. I got fired. I didn't cause a strike, but I went out with them. I had to, and they fired me. So I went to work. He said, "Well, we'll just fire you. We can fire you again if we don't like you." He said, "You work here, and we'll see." I finished that job and stayed in construction.
And that's what brought you to Virginia.
Working for Brown and Root Construction Company, and the money was good. I enjoyed it. When Bruce went with me, we came to Possum Point in a steam plant. They were doing the oil conversion from coal. They had been burning coal. Most of the plants did that. They were burning coal. They switched to oil, so bunker C oil, and we worked in different places. When that finished, you change. You go to a different place. We worked in several different plants and paper mills and stuff like that, doing instrument work. And Bruce and I worked together for many years after that. In fact, he was my foreman on some jobs. As a matter of fact, one crew, one company didn't like us working in the same crew, and there was a Russian over he was a DuPont man, a Russian man. He said, "Let me handle it." He was over our. They have DuPont has sections, and that man was over the section. He said, "Let me handle it." And he put my name in another crew, and I still work with Bruce. Bruce told him he needed me. somebody asked him, "How come you put your dad on bad jobs?" He said, "I want them done."
Yeah, I want them done right. I know my dad will do it right. That's awesome.
He didn't have to watch what I did, and I went to. We got sometimes separated. I worked in a nuclear plant in Apex, North Carolina for 5 years. They got it done, and I left there, and I didn't work much after that. I retired, and I had some health problems, and finally I got in the hospice of the Shenandoah Valley with Augusta Hospital, Augusta Health, and they saved my life. Actually, I had severe problems, and matter of fact, I had cancer, and they discovered it, and they helped save my life, and I appreciate that.
Well, we all appreciate that. When you first find out that you need to get involved with hospice care, what was the very first thought that you had?
I was scared. Actually, when my wife was dying, they called in hospice. I said, "Am I dying?" I thought I was gone. I actually did. I thought they just called in hospice when you just had a few days to live.
But that's not the case.
I've been almost a year now.
And what hospice care, what's the company that takes care of you through your hospice care?
Shenandoah Valley Hospice and Augusta Health.
And so they get to come and they get to see you every week, every couple of weeks, they get to come right to you?
They come here twice a week, Amy.
And you've said that they saved your life.
They did. When in the hospital, I had a situation of blood poisoning. And they somehow they cured that. I don't know how, but they did. I was in hospital 3 or 4 days, and they cured it.
How important is it for veterans to know that places like Augusta Health and all these, the hospice services that you've had, how important is it for veterans like yourself to know that these services are available?
Well, it is important. The first thing you have to do is have an honorable discharge. The man that lived next door, he couldn't go to the VA hospital or get any benefits. He had a dishonorable discharge from the Air Force. He's a good man. He just made a mistake. And it's pitiful that they don't get any help. But it's important for others to know about it.
You're worried as soon as you find out that it means that you have days left to live.
I thought I was kicking a bucket.
And clearly you're not. You're spry. You've been talking to us for almost an hour. So you've been doing a beautiful job.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
It's my pleasure. And when they get to come and see you, what are the different types of things that they get to help you with and help you build confidence twice a week?
Well, they help me with the medicine. I have ailments. They prescribe medicine. Rhonda's a doctor. She makes prescriptions, and Amy helps recommend whatever I need. She's a nice lady, a nurse, and the both capable people. Rhonda's a good doctor, I believe. She's helped me a lot.
And do you think because of all the help that they're able to come and bring to you, this has allowed you to be able to stay in your home?
Yes. And it's actually saved my life. I know that.
Yeah, the quality of your life has to have been improved drastically because these people
much
are
better, and I don't have to go out they come here. I hope I think they have a car furnished. I hope they do, and they earn money with the information. They're capable people.
And your job is just to make sure they don't get tired of you.
I hope they don't.
Yeah. I don't think that's possible. When you think about what you thought hospice was, which was, man, does this mean I'm going to kick the bucket in 3 days?
And my wife did. They called in hospice for her. She was in that room in a bed. They brought a bed in, and she lasted about a week, and she died with heart trouble. I should have put her on a heart transplant list, but I didn't, and I regret that. I might have still had her with me if I had used my head.
So you've been through that experience. What would you recommend to other people that are in a similar situation, but they don't know what hospice care really can be or what it could do for them? What would you recommend to them?
Use their head and get available information. It's out there, but you have to look for it. It's I've seen veterans, gentleman across the street. A gentleman across the street, he was a veteran. He lost a leg in Korea. As far as I know, he didn't have any benefits. He did go to the VA hospital, but he didn't get the kind of treatment I've had. He died, and he didn't get the care that I get because he didn't know about it.
So how did you find out about it?
Through the people we just discussed, Amy and Rhonda. And they just I don't know how they found me. I really don't. Through hospital records, I guess. I went to Augusta Health, and I guess that's how they found out. Otherwise, I don't know how they found out.
Well, I think it's a good lesson too, because you were willing to go to the hospital. You were willing to say that I don't feel well, I need help. And because you were willing to go to the hospital, you ended up being at the right place at the right time. Then you got exposed to those two amazing people that were then able to give you that recommendation.
I agree with that.
Because I think there's a lot of veterans and men, especially. A lot of times I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to go see the doctors. So we pretend like nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
Until it's too late. So I think that's definitely the first step. Just definitely, if you don't feel well, go see somebody.
That's right.
And use your head. I noticed that you have a Bible by you, Emerson.
I do.
How much has religion and faith, how much has that been an important part of your life?
It's been a very important part. I worked in churches in my hometown, and as a matter of fact, I was a part of the program to build a new church, and I was supposed to buy the material, the lumber. I went to Clendon and I ordered a load of lumber, and they brought it up there, and at the Standard, West Virginia, the turnpike goes, the interstate goes right by us. And Steve Corner was a carpenter, my wife's cousin. He said, I can't use that, it's crooked. He said, you tell those people we're building a church here, not a pig pen. And I told them that. They came and got it, and they brought back another load, and it was straight. Steve used that.
I like that.
He wouldn't use a piece of it. It was all crooked. It wouldn't. He said, that don't go in a church.
Emerson, you up for one more question?
All right.
How old are you, Emerson?
I'm 100 plus, almost one.
Almost 101?
I'll be 101 in February.
Okay. I'm feeling confident about that 101.
Thank you.
What's the secret? What's the secret for longevity?
Well, I had a good life. I enjoyed my life. Had a good wife. Matter of fact, she was the best part of the family. And she managed with less money than most wives have, and she did well. She said, oh, this is not a mansion, but she said, we have to have that paid for before we retire. And she did it. We had occasion to have some benefits. The people died and donated money to us, inheritance. She put that on the house. We paid it off. It would still be going on payments, but for her, she paid it off early, and I know some people don't do that. They throw the money around, and she didn't. She saved it.
So enjoy your life, get a good partner.
I did.
And take care of your money.
I did that.
I like that. I said I want to be like you when I grow up one day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this with us. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you.